morning. I'm Tawsha Trahan with Spaces of Opportunity, and we are at a Focus on the Farm event where you can meet the folks that grow your food, hear their stories, and take a tour of the land. And this morning we're here with two of our growers, Jourdain Beltran and Sowan Tai.
Hello.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
And
Good morning.
these two entrepreneurs have already started their own business. And would you guys like to tell us a little bit about UFO?
Yeah. So, for those who don't know, UFO actually stands for Urban Farming Organics. I'm going to let this car pass. So basically what we do is we take unused, undeveloped property within the city, we remediate the soil, and then we turn them into fully functioning mini farms that grows fresh produce organically that's sold to places like Places of Opportunity, the Harvest Market. We want to get into restaurants, grocery stores, and eventually actually provide produce to schools.
Awesome. And how long have you gentlemen been with UFO?
We LLC'd on the 17th of last March, so we're approaching our first year.
Yeah.
And UFO basically started, I would say in November. We started getting together, thinking about what we're gonna do.
Yeah. So you're talking last November.
Yeah,
last November. We were actually looking for a project to work on together. We started with we want to do phytoremediation, so using plants to leach out heavy metals from the soil to again help with that remediation process.
Can you say that word one more time?
It's called phytoremediation, so using plants to essentially absorb all the heavy metals or any toxins inside the soil, and that way to help clean up brown lands and stuff like that.
All right, so really loving the soil.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's really important, and nowadays with all the hydroponics and stuff, people kind of forget about the land and the environment and the impact. So.
Okay, no, great. So I've just got a couple of questions,
Cool.
And we'll just continue the conversation that way. But just since we're in an urban environment and urban agriculture is starting to take off, and there's an interest in that wasn't there before, didn't seem to be there in the past. One question I had was, so very simply, you're young adults, you're living in a large city, and agriculture or farming is not necessarily top of mind or an idea people generally may have or younger people may have for a way to make a living. So what brings you to small scale farming in the city?
Go first?
You can go first. Yeah, go for it.
What brought me to small scale farming in the city, like we said, we started with other projects that were plant based, and we were not really able to get the license that we wanted. So we're still wanting to impact our environment and our society. So we started going after urban farming because we have so much vacant land, and that's where we wanted to actually start making that practice here, because most produce is grown, outside the city.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
I mean, for me, and I kind of from a millennial standpoint, right? So, if you look at all the surveys and everything, so what millennials seem to be looking for in an occupation is not just something that pays the bills. We want something that we can actually believe in, and I think a lot of us seeing the repercussions of what generations before us and their short-sightedness and how that's impacted our environment. I think a lot of us, especially those of us who are getting into urban agriculture and environmental work and stuff like that, we're really looking towards finding something that we love to do, one, and something that has a direct impact and something we can see make a positive change, not just socially but also environmentally. So that's really what drives me. And also I just love the science of it. Like, it seems simple, but growing is as much of a science as it is a hobby. So
It's a science, a hobby, and it also feels like an art form.
it's
absolutely.
It's all those things.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Okay,
all those things.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. One thing I was reading about educationally is that as this demographic changes with urban agriculture and our current farmers in the current system, they're aging out. They're
exactly
getting older, right? So we have many farmers at the older age spectrum and fewer at the younger age spectrum, and a lot of young people that are interested may or may not have a farming background.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious what your actual background is that kind of brings you into this space.
Me particularly, well, I started in a sister field, basically controlled environments. Started with cannabis. Basically, we started there. Wanted to impact people, develop a clean product, so that's why they could have basically pure medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I started to realize that I could impact more people by growing vegetables because that is consumed on a larger scale. And I would like to take the practices that I had there over here and be able to stand by my product and be like, this is completely clean, this is completely safe.
You feel really good
it's
about
something
it.
that everyone needs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, on my dad's families, first of all, my parents immigrated here after the Vietnam War. So before the war started, everyone was farmers, going back generations and generations.
Okay. Right.
And growing up, I did not want to farm. I didn't want to do anything. I tried to get away with. That's why I became a scientist, to study things that weren't farming. But lo and behold, I actually went to U of A. So I got my degree in molecular biology from there. And that's where I actually studied controlled environment, agriculture, as well as plant genetics and plant biochemistry. And then actually got hired out of college to work again. We actually met in the cannabis industry.
Yep.
So So I got hired out of college to do that. We met there, and then we've been looking for a project ever since to work on together.
Oh, how fun! So you were both at U of A,
No.
or
just me, and then
and you met.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
All
I was in the
fun.
cannabis industry since like 2011. So I was in there while he was in college,
College, yeah.
essentially. And
College.
then we both met at the last company, the last facility that we're working
Yeah.
at.
So a lot of growing skills and science skills and
Yeah.
bringing those together, and also this passion for the land and your
Absolutely, yeah.
community. Wonderful. And again, it's kind of on this youth theme. So what do you think young farmers like yourself, millennials, actually bring to farming or to agriculture as it seems to be changing?
I'm going to say, for me, what I'm seeing a lot of new farmers bring to the table is disruptive innovation. So if it, just kind of to clarify that term, is something, an idea or method of doing something that goes against the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
I think just growing up in this new environment where we also have to worry about or consider social media and the impact the internet actually has as a global playing field, I think is a huge game changer. That, again, you mentioned most farmers are older, so right now in the United States, the average age of a farmer is about 61 and a half years old,
Okay. Yeah.
with only 5% of us, less than 5% of us being under the age of 35. So what we're bringing to the table is that we're actually able to connect over this new medium where
Mm-hmm.
not only are we allowed to see what other people are doing, we actually can teach more people, we can reach more people, there's more marketing to be done, more ideas are being shared. So I think that's what's most valuable about our generation and what we're bringing to the table.
Yeah, completely. Just having that medium, so that's why we're able to essentially market to the younger demographics. So that's why we can hopefully introduce them early on, like a healthy lifestyle, rather than just being fed to them what they're, what the school systems or anyone that just gives them.
Whoever
Yeah.
before has
Yeah.
conditioned them to
Yeah.
think that this is good or
Yep.
what have you.
Mhm.
All right, great. So this is just a personal question. What's your favorite thing to grow and why? What's your specialty?
I'd say we specialize mostly in peppers, so different types of peppers. We love growing bell peppers. We got some California Reapers. We'll have some ghost peppers coming. We've grown thousands of jalapenos. Yeah, that's pretty much my favorite thing to grow, I'd probably say.
Can you give us a little schooling on peppers? I know there's a scale.
Yeah.
And I know you said reapers, so I know those are really hot, and
Yeah.
jalapenos less so. Can you help us out a little bit with what that kind of on the pepper heat scale?
So you're talking about Scoville units,
Just-
right? So that's
okay.
how we measure essentially the hotness.
Okay.
So like I couldn't tell you exactly what the Scovilles of Carolina Reaper is, but they're significantly higher than a jalapeno or like a habanero or even
shishito
even.
Yeah.
But that's how we measure it. As far as growing, what we have had to learn just from ourselves and our experience growing, their pepper plants in general are high magnesium feeders.
Okay.
So we actually use magnesium sulfate, which the normal term for that is Epsom salt. So we mix that into our compost teas, and sometimes we apply it directly to the soil.
So a magnesium feeder means they're pulling it out of the soil, or they need it?
Yeah, so
Okay.
they can pull it out of the soil, or we also use it in foyer feeding. So that means they feed from like the leaves and stems. And magnesium mostly is used in the production of chlorophyll. So that's if you look at a pepper plant, it's got a really dark green color to it.
And since we're here at Spaces of Opportunity and you've decided to join our cooperative farm team out here, what does that mean to you when you come out here and you're part of this?
It means a lot. Like, it just feels awesome to have the opportunity to be able to grow within the city, which we were chasing after. We had a few hurdles to jump over, and since we met Spaces, this has been like the smoothest so far.
Yeah.
Everyone else, like, there is a lot of vacant land in Phoenix, and trying to obtain that, there's a lot of channels to go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this made it
And
a little
this
bit
made it
simpler.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh yes.
And then also just in general from an agricultural perspective, for people to grow in the city, because most land is now used for development, it's very expensive.
Yep.
This is a very special piece of property because we have 10 acres specifically designed for growers or mentor our farming program.
Yeah.
Yep. Zoning, canal, like
Yeah.
Water.
you guys. Yeah, you guys got it
Okay.
all.
And by the way, before all the development happened in Phoenix, this all used to be farmland.
Yeah.
Phoenix was a farming city. I mean, was there 7, 8 rivers that come through Arizona? This was a major hub for crop production. And then
Right.
as people moved in, more development, we lost a lot of that. So, and it's really, I'm from the South Side originally, and I'm actually really proud to see this here and all this community. I mean, for our company, we've had to go to a couple of different pitching competitions, and the question that one of the things they're most concerned about is competition. Who's your competition? Why are you better? And every time we have to say, like, what we're doing, there's no competition. Everyone needs to eat, and everyone's trying to help everyone out and make sure that everyone's growing the best stuff. Everyone learns and everyone shares their knowledge.
Their
So,
experience
yeah, exactly,
and
yeah.
knowledge. And this is more of a cooperative
Yeah.
place, and it's going to be, so it's not the same as who are you competing against.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We all want to
sure.
grow really
Mhm.
quality produce, but we want to help one another do that,
Absolutely,
and we
yeah.
want to have easy access to the community.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
for sure.